All right, we should be live. Hello, hello. Hello, everyone. I'm going to give you ladies time to share if you need to share.
Yeah.
and, and wow, okay, so we are live. Listen, welcome to Fix My Empire. And, one of the things that we have a passion about doing, and I see some folks have jumped on. Just when you jump on, go ahead and say hello. Let us know that you're here. We definitely want to make sure we are entertaining your questions today. Today, we're going to really do a Q&A, but we want to talk a little bit. I started the conversation yesterday, and I had so much feedback that I wanted to bring the ladies fully into this conversation and really have a responsible dialogue about business investment, susus, friendships, pyramids, whatever that dialogue is. Because what I realized is, even as I got off, there's so many people asking questions about, is this legitimate and should I do this? And I am not going to be that person to tell you what you should not do with your money. That's just not who I am. But what I do want to do is help you make a responsible decision with the resources that you have. And certainly I know that Tiania Barnes and Dr. Tracy Timberlake share that same sentiment. So one of the things I want to do that I haven't fully done, and so if you'll bear with me for just a few minutes, is I don't think that I fully introduced these ladies. And for me, I'm a baby compared to their accomplishments and the things that they have and are doing. And I'm just so honored. So I realized I haven't done that. And so as you are joining in and chiming in, as people are chiming in, I want you to know who you are hearing from, because we're not just we got bored and wanted to talk about business. We've been doing this for a while, and can truly tell you some stories, some good, bad, and ugly, as we all have experiences that will help you grow. So Dr. Tracy Timberlake, first of all, multi-award-winning business coach. I want to make sure we're clear about that. $1 million course creator, TEDx speaker, online influencer, over 3 million people watching her YouTube videos, more than 12,000 have heard her speak and taken her online training programs. And she's called the Entrepreneur Whisperer. Listen, having been a part of her coaching program, she is absolutely the whisperer. Her hope and vision is for millions of entrepreneurs, leaders, and influencers all over the world to understand the massive impact they can create by showing up fully in the digital space and giving them the tools then to empower themselves. I'm saying all of this because as you're looking at, do you put $500 in a susu? I want to make sure you realize that there's some viable options.
That's good.
Right. Has spoken on the TEDx stage, collaborated with Forbes, been featured on NBC, CBS, iHeart, the Huffington Post, Entrepreneur Magazine, and so much more. She's also worked with brands such as Alvin Ailey Dance Theater, Turkish Airlines, Herbal Essence, Marc Jacobs, Cosmopolitan Magazine. She's a native of Miami. Dr. Tracy Timberlake, welcome, welcome, welcome.
Hi, everyone. Michelle, that was a warm welcome. Thank you.
That is, I had to make sure they know. Because I've said and said from memory, but I needed to make sure. And then my other sister in success, Miss Tiania Barnes. Listen, American designer and CEO, shoe designer inspired by color, travel, and culture. And she's all up in my space with that. Her worldly travels include Dubai, Hong Kong, Paris, Rome, Milan, and the list goes on. And with each visit, she is able to become ingrained into the culture, authentic food, and fashion, which also inspires her designs. Her style is chic, with an edgy hint of modern spice. I love it. Her love of fashion, specifically couture and designer shoes, piqued her passion to begin sketching her visions. And while working as a program project manager for a global IT and business management consulting firm, she decided to turn her vision of beautiful shoes into professional sketches, which led to her attending design and shoemaking school. And I have a pair of her shoes. I need my Reagans, by the way. I need my Reagans. Absolutely love it. Fashion has always had the power to make me feel beautiful and confident and classic, or whatever the occasion calls for. And Tiania says, I want my shoe designs to offer that same inspiration to women everywhere. She has been featured in notable publications and websites such as Forbes, Madame Noir, Fast Company, BET Centric, Vibe, X on Nicole. Am I saying that right? X on Nicole, Harper's Bazaar, Vanity Fair, New York Magazine, British Vogue, and other online publications. She's been interviewed by everybody under the sun, featured in New York Fashion Week, Paris Fashion Week. Guys, the list goes on and on and on and on. And more than that, what I love about both of these ladies is very passionate about community and about philanthropic opportunities, and really pushing forth not just our businesses and ourselves, but businesses of color, making sure women of color are succeeding, and that you have really just a sound foundation as you move forward. So I don't want to belabor the point, because we want to talk Susu today. If you are on this stream, Tiania, welcome. I didn't say hello to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here with you all every Tuesday. Love you, ladies.
Love it. Yes, I'm excited. I'm excited about this topic.
Me too.
I am too. So I see a couple of people on. Please share. Please share. This is a very important topic. Really excited about it. I started the conversation yesterday because I had several people. I've had several people over the last couple of weeks to ask me to participate in their Susu. And thank you all. I see you sharing it. Thank you, Kim. Thank you so much. And I had some mixed feelings. So where do you ladies want to start? Who wants to kick off this conversation on Susu business investments, and where do you go in the middle of a pandemic?
Tracy, do you want to start?
Yeah, well, I will start with, I think, the background of it, because I think a lot of there still may be some people who don't know what it is yet. And so just historically, it's actually a traditional practice. It's an ancient practice that was actually originated in West Africa in terms of, Susu. And it was a community that would come together to create a pool of money for different entities. Obviously, since, slavery was here in America, the practice of it came with the slaves that traveled from West Africa, and was really a really prominent, or I would say a very popular thing in the West Indies and in the Caribbean after slavery was over in those areas. And then they would do it as a community to have money for their community, for these ex-slaves and their descendants moving forward. I'll also say that there's a similar practice that happens in Asian culture. It's an ancient Asian practice as well. So it's not just something that started in Africa. It was actually, and because it's Afro and Asiatic, like I think we can say that probably a lot of ancient civilizations practice it, and it's become a really like a buzz term, like a trend now. Everyone's talking about it, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I guess what I would add to that is, which is very relevant in business, is that it was a way to support. Because banks weren't necessarily providing income. And so the best way to get businesses kicked off, to have the infusion of cash that was needed, to be able to purchase property, all of these other things, was this. And I want to be careful that we're clear on the terminology, because there's some ways that it goes wrong and it slides into what's not the true purpose of a Susu. Right. And so the purpose of it was you get this group, and mostly everybody knew everybody in the group. Right. It was a commitment to that, and it was a savings program.
Yep.
It was no different than opening up a savings account at your bank, and it was not meant for anyone to profit.
Right. Everyone got the same amount, or everyone had access to the same pool.
And you don't get any interest on it. Money isn't growing at all. It's kind of like you are being upfront. You're upfronting your money,
right?
So that you can have the capital to do whatnot, right?
Yeah. And then that capital, once it was replenished, would sort of rotate to the next person. So it wasn't everybody contributed and everybody got the same amount, the same piece of the pie. It would rotate, based on a schedule that they created collectively, that they decided on beforehand. First it's going to go here, then it's going to go here, and everybody contributed to that, and everybody got the same amount.
Right. Yeah. And so, Tiania, do you want to add anything to that before we move on further?
So no, I mean, I think the context was really, really great. So thanks for sharing that and kind of the history and the backstory of it. And the only point I was just going to make, which is what we just talked about, is that it had a purpose. It was a goal. It was a collective goal to raise the money, right? To raise the money to start a business. And I think the other piece that I wanted to stress is that it was a community, right? So it was known individuals in this group. And so I think that's the big differentiator, and definitely a question on my mind now, because, I'm here in the New York, New Jersey area. Michelle's in Atlanta, Tracy's in Miami, and this has now become some type of buzz. So I, along with everyone else, has questions, right? So what's this new wave of Susu versus the original thought behind Susu? So that's what I'm looking forward to talking to. So I'm hoping everyone chimes in. We have a lot of people that are tuning in right now. Chime in, because this is a Q&A. It's a learning opportunity for us all, but I think it's an important topic for us to do.
Yeah. And so I want to then go from there, because, even as I started really looking at, the Susu, and one of my business partners was sharing with me, she's from the New York area. And so I looked it up, and so you can use funds from a Susu, a legitimate Susu, as a part of your cash down payment when you get a mortgage.
Right.
But here's the caveat. You got to have a full ledger when you present that cash. Your lending officer, the underwriter needs a full ledger of who's a part of it, who put in on it, and it cannot be anything more than this non-interest savings plan, right? So now let's fast forward, because I've gotten a call from several different people, anywhere from $1,400, $1,500 to $500 to get in, right? And so you get in. I don't know anybody else that's a part of it. And you you become a part of it. And then guess what? You got to recruit 2 people. And those people have to commit, and you have no guarantees. You really don't know where your money is going. You're not getting at a ledger. You're not getting an accounting. You don't know who the rest of the folks are. So,
and that's not a true Susu.
And that is not a true Susu.
No, it is not it's not, it doesn't hold the integrity of what it was designed to do. Here's the thing. It's not, I would say, it's not to say that it can't be revamped or revitalized in a way that's more culturally and like timely relevant for today, right? Like there's no reason why it can't. However, to what you're saying, I think that's a backwards way of doing it, Michelle, because like the ledger is important, like having the documents, having, knowing who's in it, like the community aspect, I think is an important part of the practice.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And I think that's a part of what made it so powerful back then. Was it was community support. And I think what's happening now is, you may or may not, what guarantees do you have? So let's talk about that as it relates to business. And what I feel like, and I guess the other part of that is I see where people are really reaching, and I get it. When you've got, so many millions that are unemployed, when you have so much that is happening in our economy, the uncertainty, because of course, COVID-19, the numbers are increasing. There's the talk that, maybe we do need to shut down again, or what happens in the fall if we have to shut down again, or what about the businesses that have shuttered their doors and are not opening back up, right? Mm-hmm. So what do I do? And so one of the things that I find is sometimes people are struggling to tap into, Tracy, you'll appreciate this, their zone of genius. And because they are struggling with that, they're grasping at what do I do? Because they were in a period of uncertainty, right? And so I think as a responsible entrepreneur, we want to share that there are responsible options that are available for you from an entrepreneurial standpoint. Mm-hmm. First of all, asking yourself the question, do you have the mindset of an entrepreneur? Are you looking for an easy way out? Because this is certainly what it gives you, realizing entrepreneurship requires some work, dedication, commitment, consistency, and discipline.
Right.
And then how do you tap into it? Because what I feel like is so many people struggle with, what do I do? And what's my start? How do I get started? So they see a Susu or they see something and they're like, this is my miracle way to get out of my challenge that I have. And they're really looking for something. So what is that advice that we give to that person who is really struggling in this space and really trying to figure out, how do I tap in and how do I now push forward those dreams that I have that I'm really scared to walk into?
Yeah, I was just going to touch on something really quickly. I think on the Susu part, right? I think there's just so many unknowns right now, right? So I have a math degree, so I'm looking at the numbers, right? I'm like, if I put my money in, and let's say in 3 months my situation changes and I don't want to be a part of the Susu anymore. If I pull out, am I going to owe somebody some money? How am I going to get all this money up front and then I pull out 3 months and I don't owe anybody any money? Like there were so many unknowns and I couldn't make the math really add up. So for me, and I think I'm a pretty good risk taker, right? When it comes to, starting business, taking that leap, et cetera. So, for me, I opted because it just didn't add up completely for me. So in that position, I would probably put my money towards something else. I mean, there are so many different opportunities, and I don't want to sound cliche with t-shirt businesses, things of that sort that have low startup costs, but those are options that you can actually see an immediate return on as well, right? Right now, we are going through such an important time in, America and soon to be our history, that I have seen some of the most amazing t-shirts. And I know that's a way that you can get money very quickly. You don't have to spend, $15,000, $20,000, $30,000 to invest in that type of business. And people are buying those. If you get an inspirational message and a really nice graphic on a tee, trust me, it's going to sell. It's going to sell. I do feel like in this moment, and as a person that has a business that, my price point is a little bit on the higher side, I do think that businesses that are really thriving, and I'm saying emerging or small businesses that are thriving right now, are those that have a lower price point and they can really turn a profit, and still kind of, continue on throughout however long we're going to be in this type of situation. So that's my take on that.
Okay. This is why I wanted to kind of go back earlier to where Susus were, like the original intent of what Susus were created to do. Because in that time, Black people did not have access to things that would allow for them to prosper. So within community, they decided together that they were going to do this. And I'm not saying that it's not beneficial now. I think that it can be. I think that, you can, for example, you can pull together, a few $100s from family members and everybody create a family business. Then it becomes like a family trust of sorts, right? Like, so I'm not saying that it's not beneficial. If you're looking to it because what Michelle just said, it's like a fast, quick moneymaker, then I don't know that that's the wisest choice from an entrepreneurial perspective, simply because, like Tiania was saying, there are so many opportunities that you can explore with your money that will allow for it to double. My 12-year-old goddaughter started a sticker company on Etsy, and she's been getting sales left and right, and she's 12. Like she asked her mom to buy her this little sticker machine thing, and she had been planning for this little. And the other day, like a couple weeks ago, before she started, I said, okay, what are the goals? Like, what are the? She was like, okay, I just want to make $100 because that's how much I put in, to it. So she has like this goal, and she's already probably made half of that in just a couple of weeks. And she's 12. Like, she's not out here doing the most. Like, she put it on Etsy, and that's pretty much it. And she still lives the life of a 12-year-old. So, she doesn't know how to use social media. She's not doing Facebook Lives and on all the things that we have access to really promote our businesses. She just threw it up on Etsy as a fun thing. And partially it's because she doesn't have any attachment to the result that allows for her to just kind of be easy with it.
Right.
And so a lot of people, when you're trying to, it's not that you can't manically manifest money, like that does work, but it's not really sustainable. And you have to take a look at what is the sustainability of this entrepreneurial venture because like you were saying, Tiania, like what happens if I won't want to do it in 2 years?
Right.
What are the bylaws here? Like, whereas if you started a t-shirt company and there's drop shipping, there's so many things. Like, I keep getting ads on Facebook of all of these like zero cost startup things. Right. That's really what you're wanting to do. But you're always going to spend one of two things. You're going to spend time or money. And a lot of people don't want to spend the time to build. And those who are successful, no matter what business, Michelle does business, Tiania's business, my business, Jeff Bezos' business, it took time, right? And time is not something that people want to put in, and because they're seeing result, like they see the back end of what really has been 10 years in the making, right? Tiania, like you had to learn some things before you made a shoe. Like,
absolutely.
Like come out at 2 years old, be like, I want to make shoes. Like you had to, and even let's just even take my 12-year-old goddaughter. She had been planning this since January. She's 12, and she had been after school. She'd wake up early since 12 because it's not an overnight thing, and you have to be willing to put in the work. And then the last thing I'm going to say about it, at least for this part of the conversation, is like you have to ask yourself, like, what is God calling me to do in this moment? Like, is God? Because if God is calling you to do the Susu thing, then God calls you to do the Susu thing, and then you're obedient to the call. But you're doing it because you're just trying to control a situation, and not because you're really taking the time to be like, okay, what am I called to do? What are my gifts? What are the things that I want to accomplish? Taking time out, I find in this season, especially where we have a little bit more time to reflect, at least a lot of my clients are coming to places within themselves that they didn't, even myself, that we didn't recognize existed, and we have to confront. Right. What are we afraid of? What are we excited about? What are the goals that we have? What don't we want to admit to ourselves? What are we afraid to dream? Right. And again, if Susu is a part of the dream, let it be a part of the dream. But if we're doing it because we don't think there are any other options, that's just not true.
I think you hit on a good point, and I love the fact that, one of the things that I committed to myself was showing up in my authentic self and not segmenting who I am. And one of the things that, people that know me know I'm my relationship with God is very, very, very important to me. And I think one of the things that you said is really taking some time to discover who are you and what do you want. And I think it's so easy to jump into things and to jump into this and to jump into that because it feels like, okay, I can without taking the time to really, and what I love about what I've got 20 sentences running together in my head. What I love about what has happened in this pandemic is that everybody has had the moment to sit their butts down and to really figure out, who am I and what do I desire from my life? Where do I want to be? Where do I want to go? And how am I going to get there? And you know what? Make a conscious decision to stop settling for less than what you believe is your purpose, your destiny, right? And so what it's interesting that you say that, because sometimes we move past that and we don't allow God to be God, even in our entrepreneurial pursuits, even in our pursuit of money, even in our pursuit of discomfort. We won't stop and say, okay, God, I'm not comfortable right now. My job is on the line. I'm concerned about feeding my family. What am I supposed to? I'll give you guys a true story. I started my consulting business going through a divorce, right? So I was going through a divorce. I went full-time in the business, but I distinctly remember one day, I got to a point where we were toward the end of the year and I could see us making it financially through the end of the year, but I didn't have contracts into the next year. And I started feeling that level of anxiousness. What am I going to do? How am I? Because I was at full-time entrepreneurship, feeding my kids. I mean, it was just, and I remember praying one morning and it was like, I know God just asked me, do you have food today? Yeah. Do the kids have clothes? Yeah. Did they have lunch money? Is there stuff in your refrigerator? Are your bills paid? Do you have a repo man at your door? No, everything's taken care of. Okay. So I have, this is God talking to me. I have done what I was supposed to do today.
Right.
Because I have given you this day your daily bread.
And you are good.
Right.
And I'm good.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? I am done. And from then on, I say every single day, okay, I'm good. And I'll tell you what happened. I responded to an advert to do investigations, contract investigations, federal investigations. I ended up being, out of 200 people there, I ended up being one of 5 people that was not an attorney, was not supposed to have been there. Long story short, I ended up getting this long-term contract that, each case was $2,000 a case. And before I got home from the training, I had 20 cases on my doorstep to get started on.
Because favor isn't fair. That's why.
Because she listened to God.
You gotta listen.
Tapped in. That's why.
That's the point, is that, a lot of times when we throw our security into a future, it's some mountain down the road that does not actually exist. You made it up. And listen, we are all creative. We can make up whatever drama story we want to out of our lives. But if you can create a dramatic, FEMA disaster that is your life, you can also create a fairy tale version of that too, and then allow for things to work in your favor, because it's sideways energy to put all of that thought into the worry of something that's supposed to happen 2 months down the road, when that's energy that you could really be putting into, like, what do I feel called to do right now? Where's God leading me right now? That meeting that you went to, for example, that could have been circumvented if you decided to go to another meeting because you wanted to control your narrative.
Right. I was going to say, you touched on one big thing, and that is the anxiety, right? We get to a point where we get anxious, and then that's when we start making decisions that are distractions or not the best decisions. So bringing it back to when we first, started this live, one of the things that we all have in common, right, is everybody is talking about Susu right now in this moment of anxiety, in this moment of anxiousness, right? And it was just so odd when I got on Facebook this morning and I heard Michelle, because just last week I was asking people about it because I didn't know about it when I was approached about it. So I'm trying to do my due diligence, and getting on Facebook today and hearing your live was like confirmation again. Like, don't be in a situation where you do anything based on anxiousness, anxiety, or desperation. That's typically not the move for you to do, right?
No. Not at all. Those are fear-based thoughts. And what I was explaining to somebody the other day is I said, if you create if you create out of a fear-based thought, you will create a pattern of fear-based thoughts and then a pattern of those fear-based results, right? There's an element of trust that is in all of our lives, but I think entrepreneurship in general, what makes you a great entrepreneur are the same things that can make you very anxious. Right? Like, what makes you a great entrepreneur is that you're creative. What makes you a great entrepreneur is that you have these ideas. What makes you a great entrepreneur is that, you're willing to show up. But all of those things can also lead to anxiety, because then you're thinking about, well, what if? What if I show up and nobody likes it? What if I'm creative but nobody buys it? So it's there's always going to be two sides to this coin, but you have to get used to, my coach always reminds me of, he says, Tracy, like, you have always lived in your own economy. You have always created your own economy. And I said, you know what? You are right. Because when I started as a coach, I didn't know a lot of coaches, and I know that there's a huge online coaching world, but I didn't know very much of it. I just knew what I wanted to do. And so failure to me wasn't actually, like, I just thought that everybody who wanted to do it was just successful. I didn't know that there were people that weren't good. Like, I just thought everybody was good. So I didn't have these nagging voices in my head that said, well, it might not work and you might fail. And no, I just assumed that it was going to work because I just decided that it was going to work. Right. And for most people who start businesses, they are in 9-to-5 jobs when they begin. People that I'm sure that are in our communities. And for Black women, like, we are the most educated people in America right now. Like, this is the time. If there was ever a time for Black women to just outshine everybody, and this is not to say one's better than the other, so don't come for me, but I'm just saying that Black women are the most educated right now. We hold the most degrees. And yet, having said that, we are still some of the most underpaid. Right. So I'm saying, like, use this as an opportunity to rise to the level of your calling, figure out what the calling is, and then do it. Again, if Susu is the calling, which I don't think that it is, because I think that we're more educated, and I think that we have more to offer in the world in terms of gifting and talent and education and experience. So figure out what that gift is. It could be t-shirts. It could be consulting. You could create the new social media platform. I don't know, I don't know your life, but I do know that there's a lot of gifting in the Black community right now, especially amongst Black women. And this is the time.
Yeah.
Well, and there's so much opportunity, and not only is there so much opportunity, there's so much in information that is available during this pandemic on how to kickstart your business, how to do this, how to do that. The information is out there. And the time is there. You don't need to go anywhere anyway, right?
Right. You can do it in pajamas. You gotta get dressed.
Some of y'all are in Atlanta and Florida. Some of you guys.
I had a meeting the other day, and I put on makeup, and then it was canceled. And I was like, I put on makeup for nothing. You can build a whole business looking the hottest of messes, if you want.
Yeah. Learn a skill and then monetize it, monetize it online in the digital world where the equipment you need is very minimal. So the $500 or the $1,400 that you're putting in a Susu can be the $500 or the $1,400 that you're kicking off your business, right? Yes. That you are really showing up for yourself and changing your title to CEO, to boss chick, to whatever that, whatever hashtag you want to put on it, it is this is the time to write that book. This is the time to start that blog. This is the time to do your podcast and monetize your podcast, right?
This and all is the time to get started.
Pardon me?
All those are free to get started.
They are free to get started. And I'm watching people do amazing things. They are teaching people how to sew online, teaching people how to, do so many things online. There is no excuse.
Not just that, but when you become an entrepreneur, you own your business versus the Susu, you will be getting returns because you will be filing taxes and you will start to itemize things. So you will be saving money and getting a lot of money back. I just wanted to throw that tip in there.
Exactly. And then as your wealth grows, right. And then, you're getting into like more pools of wealth and more pools of wealth. And then you're buying real estate and then you're investing in stocks and then you're starting other businesses. And, I always say like I can turn $5,000 into $250,000 in 6 weeks. It's not hard. Like once you know the system. Now, I will say it took me a while to learn the system. Please do not think that I learned that overnight. But that is understanding the power and flow of currency in the American market right now. And that's why I say like Susu was great for what it was for when it was for it. But there's just so many other opportunities right now that can really grow your income more than that.
Yep. Yeah. So I actually I know there are people kind of on the line. I wanted to hear from somebody who has successfully done a Susu. I think that would be a good segue into, I think we're all on the same page, us three. I just want to see if there's somebody that's on a different page than we are with the Susu versus starting your own business. I did talk to a friend and she has her own business and one of her clients has one. But I will tell you from my due diligence and my conversations is the Susus that have been successful or that I personally know someone or know of someone that's been in it, they know the individuals and they are working toward a common goal, whether it's to help someone get out of debt, help buy a house. But the two things that I took away from it is there's a common goal, and number two, they know the group,
know each other. There's familiarity. It's not strangers.
Exactly.
And the design was never for a whole bunch of strangers either. It was always communal.
Yeah.
It was always communal.
Yeah. So does anyone else have anything that they'd like to share in this world? I know someone sent a message and said that they had been contacted, and I know they're all the way in Oklahoma. So again, I find it very interesting when we talk about your passion, your purpose, and we talk about God. I find it interesting that right now it's becoming this big surge, the topic of Susu, right?
Yeah.
Like I said, I think anxiety, fear-based, people trying to understand how they're going to get money, where to put their money, all of that. So just be cognizant of the things that are going on and the environment and, the decisions that you make at this point in time.
Yeah, because whatever you make right now, whatever decisions you make right now will affect, it could potentially affect generations depending on what that decision is.
Yep.
Yeah. And here's my thing too, is whatever decision you make today, you're going to eat the fruit of the labor of that decision in 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months. So make sure that you are, you don't get paralyzed in making a decision, but make sure you are making a wise decision that really, really, really is promoting your own personal success, financial freedom, and what all of those things mean to you. And so if I could summarize pros and cons, right? So the pros of Susu is if you know the individuals involved, it's a great way to create a community savings plan that, again, it was good for then, but, you could use your savings account at the bank as well. So,
and get into
that was another thing with the mortgage side of it, that if you do use the bank, then you cannot use funds because the purpose of it was in lieu of a bank savings account, not in addition to. So that was one of the things that I saw as well from the reading how the underwriters look at funds that are contributed from Susu. Number two, it's not a business. Number three, you have no guarantees. Number four, my grandfather's saying was always, when people ask for money, if you can't afford to give it, then you can't afford to loan it.
Mm-hmm.
So this is how I feel about this. There is no guarantee. And if you don't get your money back, you have no recourse. Right. There's nobody you can go to say, I didn't get my money back. Right? Because this is truly not regulated. It's not a tax write-off or anything that you can say was an investment into a business or a bona fide business. And so I went from pros to cons real fast, didn't I?
I was like, wait, are we on cons here? We have one pro. No.
Well, I think that when it was created for the intent that it was created, it was a huge pro for the Black community and for Asian community and other minority communities where they just didn't have access to banks and access to be able to purchase stock and access to be able to purchase real estate. So for what it was intended for, it worked really well. Just we're looking at it with the lenses, of a 21st century operation. And I just don't know what the true benefits would be. Now, I would say this. There are other things, like, for example, there are real estate trusts, for example, that you can, invest in. I invest in a lot of real estate trusts. They're called REITs. So you get private and public REITs, which I would think is it's a more regulated industry. So there's that. And then there's the return on the investments. It can be anywhere from, 10% to 20% or depending on what the rate is. So I would look into that if you're really but it's also a longer term investment, right? Yeah. If you're going to invest in some sort of real estate trust, but there are other kinds of trusts that exist that are more regulated than a Susu.
Yeah. Let's see. That's it for me. I think the other part I would say is, we've talked about business. Of course, I also have a team in multi-level marketing, and that's a viable option as well. As long as you are, as long as that product makes sense for you, then you're out of that pyramid. It's not a pyramid as long as you got your money is in exchange for the use of a product or whatever. You're building a team. Not usually a guarantee. The FTC requires that there's a guarantee in place. The FTC requires income disclosure statements through the IRS. So as long as you've got those things in place through a multi-level marketing company, and 82% of African American women, especially who make six figures, do it in multi-level marketing businesses. And so you can usually find a multi-level marketing company for less than your $500 Susu.
True.
And so,
since you got to find two people anyway to keep your
right,
start building your team and your multi-level marketing and create some residual income.
I was gonna say, and it's passive. It can become passive income at some point. There is a return on that. Right. So it's a better
tax write-off.
Tax write-off. If you're really great at it, you get lots of cool perks.
Right.
You get cars, vacations.
And the other thing I was going to say, I was participating in a webinar. And I mean, another kind of low, which you can put your $500 into, you can go and buy inventory. Let's say you wanted to buy lipstick cases, right? Mm-hmm. You can go to Alibaba, whatever, some of those sites, and go find, 100. Test the market out. This is a good way to test a business, a model, right? Go buy a low cost item that you feel like is a need in the market. And of course, you need to increase your margins and start an Instagram site, a Facebook site, and start selling it. And you make your money. So you put your $500 into a product.
And you can multiply it and it can become $800 in 4 weeks.
That's all I'm saying.
Way better than any kind of investment.
And not just that, you are starting a business and you are learning as you go, and you can scale. You start small, right? And then you can scale later. Let's say, these little lipstick holders, and I'm making that up, but whatever you go find from an inventory standpoint, mark the price up because that's what you have to do to stay in business. Sell it and understand the principles behind business off of that. Put your $500 in there and then make $1,000. Then put $500 more in your business and then make $2,000 and then keep going. That's your Susu.
And like, let me tell you something. The kids, because y'all know I love TikTok, but like the kids, they are doing that. They're flipping things. Like they'll go to Ross and buy a pair of Nikes for $25 and then sell them for $75 because they look them up on the little sites that they look them up, like, and like literally there are kids that are making like, made $700 today. Like, I'm like, well, good for you, 16-year-old, saving to buy their car. There were several that I was watching earlier this year. They were saving for their prom and, they didn't get to have a prom, but the point is they're flipping things. They're buying things on eBay. They're buying things like garage sales. Like they're going to thrift stores and buying like designer clothes and then being able to resell those. And I mean, they are just, they're knocking it out of the park with this. Like, you know what I mean? Like they are creative and they don't feel, again, they're not attached to an outcome here. They're just like, well, this sounds like a fun thing. And then they end up making all this money that they keep doing it.
Well, to the point, you're not attached to an outcome if you're putting $500 in a Susu either. You're not attached to an outcome because you don't know where your money's going. You don't know if you're getting it back. You don't know any of that. So which risk are you going to take? Are you going to take one that can be of longevity and produce a lot of returns, or one that supposedly you get what you put in, or you may not get anything? You may put something in and not get anything out of it, right? So it's just, again, I think last Tuesday, we talked about mindset of an entrepreneur, right? That mindset shift. And this is basically what we're talking about today. So, I mean, there's a wide open market out there. There's lots of opportunities. You can go and sell fruit. You can go to the grocery store and buy fruit and make
and
some
sell it, right?
I mean, like, it's so much.
There's so many things to do. It's just, the problem is, honestly, is that most people don't want to do the work of work. I don't know where this concept of like entrepreneurship is just so easy and you just make all this money like without putting in any work. Like, they don't want to bargain shop and they don't want to stand on a street corner and sell the water bottle, and but here's the thing, the ones that are doing it are the ones that are feeding their family, and they are not worried because they know that if they needed access to capital, they could go and do this over here for a couple of weeks and then they're going to have what they need. Because they're like, there's no shame in enterprise. Like, obviously, legal enterprise. Don't hurt anyone while you're doing this. But you know what I'm saying? Like, there's no shame in like, this is my hustle. This is what I'm going to do here. This is, and you can even do it until you figure out what your calling is. Honestly,
exactly.
Sometimes people just go, I don't know what my calling is. They use that as an excuse to not do anything. So in the interim, while you're figuring it out, go do
something.
Yeah. Right. Learn how to start a t-shirt company. Drop ship the t-shirts. Right? Like, learn how to sell coffee mugs. There was this one lady that I saw on TikTok who was going to garage sales, buying old furniture for like $5 and then flipping it, putting it up on, Facebook marketplace and then selling it for $40 or $50. And she would end up, it was time again, right? But she was making $20 or $30 net profit on what she was doing.
You can go in your own.
She liked doing stuff with furniture.
You can go in your own closet because I have a nice shoe collection prior to when I started. Right. That's
my Poshmark site.
And
Poshmark. Yeah.
Selling my shoes, my very nice designer shoes. I'm not going to mention their names because my brand is more important, but
yes, it is.
I have considered setting up that Poshmark, right? And all you do is take a couple nice pictures and load money. Like, it's so many different ways. And that I don't even have to put in $500 because the inventory is in my
closet. Right. And then you can do all of this without putting on makeup. Which is always how I build businesses.
All you need is your iPhone and take some pictures. That's all you need.
That's it. So lots of options I think we've talked about. So I hope that clarifies at least our position and what we think are better options to a Susu.
Yeah. That's all I have.
That's all I have as well, ladies. Are there any questions? I see we've still got quite a bit of folks on, and we definitely want to make sure we're entertaining your questions really fast. Anyone have any entrepreneurial business related questions that you would like to ask? Anything on any topic, any subject, but you got about 30 seconds to type it up and get it in the chat.
Let us know.
Let us know. Let us know.
Always chime in. See, everybody that knows me knows I like to be engaged. I'm a communicator. So all these people sending waves. I mean, say something. Say a word. Hello.
Something. Hello.
That's a question.
Yeah. Any questions from anyone? How do you get leads? Yep.
Well, it depends on what it is we're selling. Does anybody know what Princess is selling?
I don't. I think unless it's multi-level marketing. Princess, are you referring to the travel industry and the travel, or are you just in general? Tell me what you are referring to specifically. What industry? What business?
Travel. She's a travel business.
Okay. You say travel business too. Is there anything else? So I think she is a part of the same multi-level marketing company that I am a part of. And so how do you gain leads? Oh, okay, great. Okay. How do you gain leads? I would say, what are you putting out there? Social media is your biggest bang for your buck. Do not always lead with selling. If you're always selling something, you're going to turn people off. So you want to be able to engage your audience, and you want to be able to set yourself apart as the expert in the travel industry. Obviously, we are getting so much back-end information from vendors, from Norwegian, from Carnival. We're getting so much information that is not necessarily going straight to the public. So you've got the scoop, and you should be sharing the scoop, right? Your post should be engaging individuals on what travel will look like moving forward. How should you travel and be prepared for Corona and all of the safety concerns and all of that. And so the first thing I would say is start setting yourself apart as the expert. If you are utilizing social media on a regular basis, then I would say, maybe Travel Tip Tuesdays or, something Travel Saturday, whatever that is that really gives you a moment to go live and really share travel information without selling your business, then people will start to follow you. If you don't have a Facebook group, go ahead and establish a group where you bring people into your group. If you'd like to hear more about travel, if you'd like to hear more about specials and deals on different destinations, then include them in part of that group. If you are looking from the multi-level marketing side and promoting the business, then that gives you an opportunity as well to give people, the chance to partner with you so that they can do what you are doing, but they've got to see the benefits of it. You are frozen, Tracy, but they've got to see the benefits of it as well. So utilize that group. I don't know how to unfreeze her. Utilize that group. I don't know how to unfreeze her.
I don't know.
Oh, you're back.
Just leave it. I don't know. It's okay. I'll just be here.
Oh, and if I remove, I'm afraid if I remove.
Yeah, it's okay. We're almost done anyway. Just leave it. I'll be frozen.
Okay. And utilize that group and really grow from there. So I hope that helped on gaining your leads. The other thing I would say is look at other groups. Do not violate the rules of groups that you join, but provide valuable content to posts that are included in those groups. So you want to make sure you're following the rules of groups that you join. And there's so many travel groups out there. There's so many, groups that you can join, and people are in need of, they're ready to travel. They're ready for vacation. Provide valuable content when they talk about travel and where they're going. Hope that helps. Thank you, my dear. Anybody else? Any other questions before we get off and jump off? Any other questions? Tracy's frozen.
I know, it's okay.
Any other questions? Any other questions? At least you're frozen with a cute face. If it was
What about, I know. Yeah.
Any other questions? Okay, all right. No more questions. All right. Well, you guys have been amazing. Of course, share. We do appreciate that. Get my phone now. We do appreciate you sharing this video and this live. What's the best way to hire? So my background is human resources, but anybody else want to take that?
What is that in reference to? What's the best way to hire
what?
And I'm sure, Ruth, are you talking about for your food truck?
Is that for a food truck, Ruth?
I think this is for food truck. This is Ruth with the food truck, and I'm thinking that's what she's asking about.
Well, I'm going to give you kind of a couple of just like overarching tips, and then somebody else can jump in with something more practical. But I think before you hire, you kind of have to make sure you're clear on the kind of hire you want to create. Some people want to hire just because they think they need a teammate or a team member, but they aren't super clear on what they actually want that team member to do. So I think you just get clear on, the position that you're hiring for. Drivers. Okay.
So Ruth, is this for someone? Ruth is also an over-the-road driver. She drives 18-wheelers.
She said for the trucking business.
So this is for the trucking business. Yep. So this is for owner, for someone.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Go ahead.
Oh, no. Well, now that we know we're clear on truck drivers, I feel like it's an industry that always needs people, right? There's always companies that need truck drivers. So there's a lot of different ways you can go about it. I mean, obviously the more direct way is putting out ads and seeing who's available, word of mouth from other, truck drivers that you trust who might have some other friends. Cause I feel like truck drivers kind of hang in circles and in pockets. So getting personal recommendations would be my guess. Michelda, what are your thoughts from an HR perspective?
I think you've hit a lot of it. Number one, be clear not only on what you're looking for, but the type of person that you're looking for. And by that, I mean the work ethic, the standards, all of that you're looking for. So sometimes we look at a person based on can they do the job, but not necessarily will they do the job. So look at those interpersonal skills as well. Of what you're looking for and the type of dedication that you need from that person. And then I would look at job boards that are specific for the trucking industry and see if there's something, things that are posted on job boards. While you are out, I would ask other truck drivers, do you have someone, do you know somebody, would you recommend somebody, that kind of thing. Always love a referral and to obtain somebody through a referral. And then thirdly, I would look at some of the other resources online. I guess it would be the same as job boards, but some of the other resources online that may cater to you just don't need somebody with just a CDL. Okay. That may cater to someone in the trucking business, right? The other thing I would consider is looking at schools in your area. And maybe you would consider a new grad and someone who's just getting their CDL, who's really hungry, that you can mold to be the person that you desire. Because sometimes when you get somebody and they've been doing something for a while, they have their own system, their own way, their own thing. And if that doesn't jive necessarily with what you're looking for, then sometimes it's best to get somebody that you can kind of shape and form them into the individual that you are looking for, and provide some incentives along the way for them to stay with you. Now, I don't know that fresh out of school, I don't know what that'll do for your insurance. I know that's a big factor. So that's also something to consider, is what that insurance would look like if you've got somebody with, not a lot of driving time, but that may be an option, or maybe even the school can recommend somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have a lot more to add to that. I was just going to say the same thing that you said about the job boards, specifically in that area, or even just do a Google search on where, they're most likely to be hired, hired truck drivers. You can do a simple Google search and try to find some other resources as well.
I am so big too, and I don't, because of my Facebook community, if I need something, I post it on Facebook. I just do.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And
somebody knows somebody.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, go tag a friend.
Knows somebody. Yep. So I'll just post it on Facebook sometimes when I need something or somebody.
Right.
All right. Any other questions? Because we are at our 1 hour point and I don't want to belabor it, but any other quick questions? Any other questions?
And any other questions that, for anybody who's watching the replay, if you have questions and you type them in, it may be a future topic. So
yeah. That'd be great.
Oh, that's good. That's good. And make sure you access the form if you're interested in being a part of the show. We'd certainly love to hear your pain points and help you address that. We are excited about what we do and the format in which we do it, and really passionate about, assisting you in your growth and helping you get to that next level. So thank you all so much. Be sure to share it. And again, if you think of anything, add those questions here. I'll go around the horn. Tiania, Tracy, final remarks.
No, I hope everybody has a great week. I hope everybody, again, uses this time to reflect on what your true talents are, what your passion is, what you really love to do. And I really, really, really hope everybody comes up with something great, because we need it and it's the right time. So be well.
And I'm sorry that I'm not moving, but I'm here. Just to piggyback off of what Tiania said, you know what? Integrity for me is one of my core values, and it's more than just telling the truth or being honest, or like what most people think of when it comes to integrity. Because if you're not living the life that you're supposed to live with the purpose that you were called to, then you are not, in fact, in integrity with who you are. And so my encouragement to you, and for most people, I would say, I've worked with a lot of people, and 99% of those people actually know and have known for a long time exactly what their call is. They just kind of say, I don't know, because they feel they need permission, or they don't think it's going to work. And I'm going to say, if you feel called to something, there is a reason. So operate in integrity, honor yourself and who you were called to be, and move in that direction. It's not going to be, the big bang overnight. But if you are committed to being the very best that you can be in this world, then it will happen.
And then I will end with this. Peter stepped out of the boat in circumstances that were not the most ideal. It was a storm, things were going on. It was crazy, 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 crazy. But that is when Peter accepted it and stepped out of the boat and started walking on water. So don't look for perfection. Answer the call and start walking towards your destiny. Man, Dr. Tracy, you went there with me.
Let's do it, ladies. Here we go. Oh my God, I wish you could see me because I'm making the running motion. I'm running.
Oh my gosh.
I'm running with you.
This was so much fun. Right. Love you guys.
Bye.
Bye. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.